Hello everyone. This is our second week of learning. We'll see how this goes. We're starting this a lesson. We're going to be learning about the International Space Station and how the astronauts live on it. We will be able to draw some comparisons to maybe some of the stuff we're experiencing today. But the main goal is to be able to find the key details in this article and then use those key details to give us more of a picture of what this article is about. Once we understand the key details, then we'll know the important pieces of information that we can take away from this. And so this week, we're working on stuff that's related to outer space and astronauts. And so this article is titled The International Space Station. So we know from that title alone what we'll be reading about is going to be the International Space Station. So when we read through here, we're going to find key details throughout. And we have to make sure we go through it paragraph by paragraph. And so when we're going through it, we're looking and we noticed, the first thing we noticed is that there's pictures accompanying the paragraphs, the writing in this article. So we see they have pictures here. So some of these pictures may give us clues to what some of the key details are when you read the paragraph. And so we see these pictures here, and they give us a good idea of maybe what they're going to be talking about in this article without reading it, but it's still very important that we read it to make sure we find out every key detail that we can find in this article. So the first thing we should read is the first paragraph. So when we read the first paragraph, we're going to get a better understanding of what this article is trying to inform us about. And so right away, we're reading this first paragraph. We're going to be looking for some key details in this first paragraph about this article and about the International Space Station. And so it says, would you like to have a bedroom in outer space? Some astronauts do. The United States and other countries use a reusable spacecraft called a space shuttle to send astronauts to an international space station. The space station orbits Earth. 3 astronauts can live there at one time. They stay for 6 months at a time, and the image below shows the space station. And so once we read all that, we can take a look at this picture. And so after we read the first paragraph, we know what the International Space Station looks like. And they give us some important key details about how many people can live, how many astronauts can live on the space station, and how long they stay on the space station, and where is the space station located. And so we're going to have to underline these key details or highlight if you have or any other means. For this, we're going to probably have to write down on a separate piece of paper so we can remember. So we know the key details in this right away. We know the people that are doing this are the United States and other countries. That is one key detail. Another key detail, just we know who is doing it, but how are they doing it? And so they're using a reusable spacecraft called a space shuttle, and that is how they get to the space station. And so we know the who and the how, and so we're going to figure out down in this third paragraph, what other key details do they give us? It says the space station orbits Earth. So we know the space station orbits the planet Earth where we live. And now, another key detail is that there are 3 astronauts and they live there at one time. And the last key detail is how long they can stay on the space station. It says they stay for 6 months at a time. And so those are going to be our first few key details at the start of this article. And they're going to give us somewhat of an idea what to expect in the later paragraphs. So we know they're going to be talking about the astronauts and the International Space Station. And most likely we're going to learn more about what the astronaut's life is like on the space station. And so I'm going to clear this real fast, and then we're going to take a look at the second paragraph. So when we get to the second paragraph, we notice it's not split up into 3 pieces. It's multiple sentences grouped together into one paragraph. These are paragraphs that we are more standard and what we're more used to seeing, opposed to these paragraphs where they only did a sentence or 2 at most. So this is what you'd call a proper paragraph right here. And this paragraph is our second paragraph that we'll have to find key details in. The rest of the story, I will allow you to read this on your own. And what I want you to do while you're reading this is to find 5 more key details. They can be any key detail that you find interesting, or any key detail you think is important. And then I'm going to want you to make a list of at least 5 of them, and you can submit that on Google Classroom. I believe Mrs. Clark has provided a link on the Google Classroom page. If not, there will be another way to submit the 5 key details. But before we move on, I'm going to read this second paragraph for you and find the first key detail for you to get you started, so you are able to go to the last half of this and be able to find some key details on your own. So it says the space station orbits far above Earth. So the astronauts in the space station don't feel the effects of gravity like we do on Earth. When we lift our arms and legs here on Earth, we have to work against gravity. That is good for us. It helps us stay in shape. But astronauts in space don't have the effects of gravity to work against. They do not get much of a workout from drifting around. They have to run at least once a day to stay in good shape. In this image, you can see an astronaut jogging in space. So, we know one thing about one key detail. The space station orbits far above Earth. So, we will likely not be able to see it from where we're at on the planet, as it's really high up there outside the atmosphere. And so we know they're located far above the planet. And so they get to see most of the planet from their location, as you can see in the picture right above. Now that we have that first key detail there, you will be able to work through the rest here and find 5 key details. And remember, when you're looking for key details, you're looking for information that is important to the article and that is either informing you about what they're talking about, or giving you an important information that you need to know in order and able to be able to understand and learn what they're writing about in the article. And so I hope you're all having a good time this week, and I can't wait to see you again this Friday when we have our Google meeting. And that is all from me today.